She came back. She came back.
It is hard for John to talk about.
She didn't know where to go or what to do.
The day in 2016 when his daughter went to the Newgate Mall in Ogden to get a massage, her goal to relieve some stress, never imagining she was about to endure a stress that would haunt her the rest of her life.
My daughter was a victim of a serial sexual assault crime spree.
47-year-old Hung Wei Yang was arrested, convicted, and sentenced to up to 5 years behind bars. 5 victims came forward during the investigation.
It has been 191 days since this happened.
This is one of the victims speaking at Yang's sentencing.
And that means that for 191 mornings, I wake up thinking about what he did to me.
Never should have happened.
But John is speaking out now because he's angry. Not just at the man who assaulted his daughter and so many other women, but at the Ogden Police Department. He says they botched the investigation, and in doing so, allowed his daughter, as well as several other women, to be victims when they did not need to be. Take a look. Police records show that Yang was not arrested until 19 days after police were first made aware of the crime. First victim approached Ogden police on July 19th of 2016. According to the incident report, the victim was, quote, willing to assist in the investigation and in the prosecution. The victim, quote, was asked to fill out a statement form and bring it back to the station at a later date. No arrest made, nor any indication that the suspect was even questioned. 6 days later, another victim turned to police, that one John's daughter. She was also instructed to, quote, complete a written statement. Her statement was, quote, given to records. The report concludes, quote, I took no further action at this time. Another 3 days after that, 2 more victims came forward. Again, police took a written statement from each, but no indication the suspect was questioned. And 10 days later, a 5th victim turned to police. This time, there was action. The victim was asked to positively identify the suspect. Police then spoke to Hung Wei Yang, and he was taken into custody. That was too long, John says.
You failed her and all of these other women very, very terribly.
A 47-year-old masseuse.
After news reports of Yang's arrest, police say they got an additional 23 tips from people claiming that they, too, were victims.
It was not handled properly.
If it had been handled properly, would your daughter have been a victim?
No.
Was it a botched investigation?
It was not a botched investigation.
Captain Danielle Croyle with the Ogden City Police Department defends the work of her department.
He was convicted of these cases. It's not like these crimes were not, he wasn't held accountable for his actions. So we do take these cases very seriously, and we make sure that they're done properly.
Croyle says that an issue cops face when dealing with sexual assault victims is what the victim wants to see happen.
Do they want to pursue criminal charges, and where do they want to go?
That may be, but it was not an issue in this case. According to police records, each of the 5 victims who came forward before Yang was arrested specifically told police they would support prosecution. I pressed Captain Croyle on the timeline, 19 days and 5 victims before an arrest was made. If an arrest had been made after the first complaint, do you think there would be fewer victims today?
We have to make sure that we have probable cause for an arrest, and during that first initial thing, there wasn't enough to hit that tipping of the scale to ensure that we could have a prosecutable case and that we had enough for an arrest.
What did the Ogden City Police do? They gave her a victim statement that says, go home and fill it out.
For John, justice has not been served. He is on a mission to encourage all police agencies to review their responses to sexual assault crimes and to try and change Utah law to make it easier for victims of crimes to sue police departments for failing to act.
There are victims that were unnecessarily emotionally scarred for life.
The Ogden Police Department claims they have done an internal investigation of this particular case, and they say there was no indication that any of their officers did anything wrong, no dereliction of duty. However, we're going to have to take their word for it, because when we asked to see a copy of that review or any public records they might have, they denied our request. That said, in the time since this case, Ogden says they have changed the way it investigates reports of sexual assault. They now have the alleged crimes handled by the Special Victims Unit, which is trained to deal with what they call sensitive matters.